Bonjour everyone. Yesterday I asked you a question through the YouTube post asking basically what kind of videos you wanted to see, and most of you told me about gameplay, footage, and most specifically how to play tanks in general. So today I'm going to propose to you 3 different ways of playing your tank destroyer. Let's go. First playstyle, playing aggressively tanks that are not supposed to be played aggressively. Here we take the example, and the perfect example I should say, of the RHM Waffenträger, a tier 8 tank destroyer from the German tech tree. This tank is known for 3 things: an amazing camo, a great gun, and definitely the worst armor in the game. If I tell you that, all of a sudden you're gonna think to yourself, well, I would rather camp with that tank. And to be honest, even if on the paper it looks like a great idea, in practice, it would be a mistake. It would be a mistake for one simple reason. If you camp with the RHM, you are missing out 80% of the most fun gameplay of all time. Because obviously, if you are the tank the least expected at the first line, if you are here, it gets you a huge advantage. So how does it work? Basically, as I mentioned, you have a crazy camo, which means that you can allow yourself to go a little bit further than any other tanks and shoot without being spotted. And this is where the main advantage of that tank resides. Just take a look at this Type 68, for example. With any single tank in this game shooting that shot, I would have been spotted and shot at. But obviously, because I'm waiting for my teammates to be the first to get shot at, I have my spots and therefore I'm doing the damage. So how do you want to make this practice go well? It's actually pretty simple. The first thing is to find a position from which you can play aggressively while not being the main focus of enemies. At the beginning of that game, for example, I decided to take the traditional tank destroyer camping position, and I went straight into the town, because from there you should not see a lot of people. The second phase is waiting for your allies to bait the opponents into getting out of their position in order to snipe their shot. Because obviously, if you want to get your shots going in, you need to see your opponents. Take a look at this WT Pantoufleee 4, for example. Where is my main advantage? My main advantage is right in front of me, the target to Savage. Because currently, because I have a great camo, I'm not spotted. But the ally I have right there is gonna bait the WT Pantoufleee 4 for me. Here I'm not spotted, I managed to sneak a 900 damage in that guy, and obviously the one that will take the shot is the target to Savage. It's kind of a beachy gameplay, I totally agree with you, but it's just hilarious to be able to brawl with the RHM. But as you can see, even if we are brawling, we're not going aggressively into that, because obviously if we do that, we're gonna get destroyed. No, what we want to do is making sure that we are supporting our allies, but from an extremely close distance. And it's a much more interesting playstyle to be with the rest of your teammates in the heat of the battle, even if you are obviously not the main subject and not the main target for your opponents, but at least you do have the possibility of having fun. And it's gonna change a little bit from your boring I camp with my RHM playstyle. And there are many other tanks that are capable of doing such a thing. I'm thinking about the Stuhr Emil, pretty much every single tank from the Grill 15 line. You have many Americans that are also going to be able to do this. But mainly, if you want to play like that, you need to focus on tank destroyers that have a great mobility. And preferably tank destroyers equipped with turrets, because from time to time you have to take sneaky positions that will require from you to get a turret. But obviously this playstyle is hilarious and it will definitely allow you to be a little bit better with tank destroyer, and most importantly it will force you to have some map awareness, which means that overall it's going to make you better. Number 2, the aggressive town tank destroyer gameplay. You're gonna see that at first this gameplay or this playstyle and the one we just saw are quite similar. The main difference here is that with the first playstyle you are going to remain unspotted for a very long time, whereas here you are gonna serve as a fake bait, or what I like to call a fake bait. So how does it work? It's pretty simple. You are gonna go where the heavies are supposed to go, as long as it's not a corridor map. What I mean by that is that on this map, for example, it's perfect for you to try this tactic because even if it seems like you have a corridor, you have a lot of space for to be able to retreat first and also to be able to attack from multiple angles. I can attack from that corridor, from this one, or from this one. And obviously, I can use the many houses we see around here to hide myself if needed, and mainly if I'm the target of my opponents. So what we want to do here is making sure that we wait for the heavy to do the job. Basically, the heavy is going to go in for us, but we need to be spotted first. Why? Because we're going to create kind of a psychological conflict into our opponents. Because basically, if they see a lightly armored tank destroyer that appears at first to be lonely, they will try to push you. And this is where the bait closes on them. If they try to push you in the back, you have your heavies that will support you, and therefore, as I mentioned, you serve as a bait. So you see, for example, here that we managed to kill one guy. We are going for the Chimera, and well, it works. They saw Scorpion G. They are thinking it's an easy target. We're going to snap some H's on that guy, which means that we can allow ourselves to go back and try to destroy them. And obviously, by doing that, thanks to my crazy DPM, I'm going to be able to do quite a lot of damage. Sniping already 3 shells on the Chimera, the T-54E2, and the IS-3. But if you want to do that, guys, it really, really requires you to get some map awareness, and most importantly, not trying to be too greedy. You are here to snap shots. You are not here to take shots. And as I say that, I'm taking the biggest shot ever. Just take a look at what I did here. I take one shot. I think to myself, it's too much. I'm not going to be able to handle another one. So I'm baiting them into thinking that I'm going away. This way, they will focus on my allies. And if they focus on my allies, I have, once again, a free field to deal some damage. So you make them believe that you are going to another position, so they switch targets. And after, you come back directly into the heat of the battle to be able to snap some great shells. And doing that, you are gonna do what I like to call the aggressive town bait tank destroyer playstyle. It's quite a long name. But obviously, every single tactic has its flaws, and mine was to think that the T-54E2 shot. I actually thought that what we heard was the T-54E2 shooting, but it seems like it was not the case. But regardless, we still ended up doing more than 3k damage, playing aggressively with a tank that, once again, is definitely not supposed to be played like that. But trust me, it works. One thing that I forgot to mention in the previous playstyle, you obviously need to have a tank with a good mobility, because sometimes you are going to push with your heavies, but you are going to lose the side you're fighting for. And obviously, when it's the case, you gotta get the hell out of there. And now, finishing off with the third playstyle, what I like to call the tank destroyum, or the tank medium. You know what? It's a mix between the medium playstyle and the tank destroyer one. Here, you are gonna need something that is extremely mobile. And if you do have a tank destroyer that has this kind of mobility, you are gonna be able to take positions, really advanced position that will allow you to circle your opponents. For example, here I decided to go for the Kanonenjagd Panzer. Sorry, but I always forget the name of the tank. And allowing myself to take, let's say, long distance positions, but still positions that you need to play aggressively in order to get to, I'm able to snap my shells and therefore do a lot of damage while remaining unspotted. Here, it's what we get the closest to the regular tank destroyer playstyle. The main difference here is that you're not going to use the traditional bushes. You are going to use the position of your enemies to relocate yourself. What I mean by that is that at first I went to the medium side because I was hoping for them to go on the other side. It worked. And now that they are on the other side, I have the main advantage. They are all focused on my allies that are in front of them. Therefore, I have a whole way for me to snap my shells from the back. And well, it's pretty interesting, but a pretty hard playstyle to put into action, because obviously it will require from you to know where your opponents are going to be directly at the start of the battle. Just by looking at the lineup, you're going to think to yourself, okay, with this kind of lineup, they can stand this side, so it means that they're going to the other side. So if they are going to the other side, I need to go to the first side I talked about in order for me after to circle them. It's really hardcore, and it's definitely aiming for pro players more than the two playstyles we saw previously. But once you will master it, you will have hilarious games. And on top of that, it's going to make you a better player. And it's operable not only with Tank Destroyer, but with many other tanks like mediums and light tanks. But, because there is always a but, with this kind of playstyle, you need to be extremely careful not to be alone. Do not try to circle alone, otherwise you are going to get totally destroyed. And this is how we finish this little playstyle presentation. So what's the best for you? The RE champ playing aggressively with the element of surprise being the camo, the Scorpion G and its amazing DPN that will allow you to sustain with the heavies and therefore push through the lines of your opponents, or the Kanonenjagd Panzer, the most sneaky out there that will allow you to take your enemies from the back without being spotted. Let me know in the comments, feel free to subscribe, like and share, and if you have more questions about that or if there is something you don't understand, feel free to come back to me or tell me that you want more specific videos, because right now there are not so many things to talk about in World of Tanks Blitz, so I would rather focus on making you a better player than just overdoing the review type of video. See ya.